Now, my next guest, like Barbara, started out as a journalist. In fact, he also worked on the London Evening News. There must be something in the coffee there, because Ken Follett has also sold nearly 100 million books in his time. It all started in 1979 with the World War II thriller Eye of the Needle. But his most popular book was something of a slow burner, the historical epic Pillars of the Earth, published in 1989, which stayed on some European bestseller charts for 6 years. The sequel, World Without End, has only taken him nearly 18 years to produce, but I'm glad to say it's just been published, and even happier to report Ken is here to talk to us about it. Now, welcome, Ken. Now, you're a famous socialist, but also very democratic, obviously, because it's your readers who have pushed you into the situation of writing this sequel 18 years on, is it not? Was it really their nagging that pushed you over the edge and forced you to put pen to paper?
Yes, they've been asking me to write a sequel to The Pillars of the Earth almost since the book was originally published in 1989. And people say, why did you wait so long? Well, I wasn't waiting, I was thinking. And, you know, it took me a long time to figure out what would count as a sequel. I mean, what did people really want when they asked me to write a sequel? I couldn't write another book about building a cathedral, because that would have been the same book. And I couldn't write another book about the same characters, because by the end of The Pillars of the Earth, they're all either very old or dead. Building a cathedral is quite a lengthy process. That's right. It's about half a century, and The Pillars of the Earth is a long book, and it covers that long period. And there really isn't any more to say about those people once they got to about 75 and they finished building the church. So was it sort of 17 years thinking of an idea? Well, not 17, because it's taken you 3 years to write. So sort of 15 years thinking of an idea and 3 years writing it? Yeah, something like that. I also had to work up the nerve, because, you know, people... as the years went by, I realised that The Pillars of the Earth was very special to people, and they talk to me about that book in a way that they don't talk about my other books. Some people say it's the best book I've ever read. Some people say I've read it 3 times, and considering that it's a 1,000-page book, that's... So then I think, oh, my goodness, so I can't produce something that's going to disappoint them now. I've really got to try and produce something they'll like that much, and I was pretty anxious about that. So why was it that after Pillars of the Earth, and it being such a great success, you returned to the more familiar territory for you of the thriller? And what do you think it is about that book that so kind of, you know, ignited people's enthusiasm? Well, when I finished The Pillars of the Earth, I was just too tired to write another book like that. I mean, it's the only time in my career that I've suffered from imagination fatigue. You know, it was a very difficult book to write, because it's so long, and I had never written a book of that length before. And I really wanted to do something light, something a bit... you know... Have a bit of a rest. Absolutely. That's how I felt at the end of it. So that was quite a big factor, too. Let's talk about the new book, which is set 200 years later. It's set in the 14th century, a period of great upheaval politically and indeed with the church. I mean, I'm presuming those are the reasons that you chose to set it then. Well, the main reason is the Black Death, because I needed a theme as big as the building of a cathedral. And when I thought of the Black Death, that was when I really decided to write this sequel, because first of all, it's terrifically dramatic, because it's a plague that kills at least 1/3 of the population of Europe, maybe half the population of Europe. So think any street, you know, between 1/3 and 1/2 of the people in the street die of this terrible plague. So it's a good way of dispensing with characters. Well, it has that advantage. That's a minor advantage. The major advantage was that coming in the middle of the story, it turns everybody's life upside down. So it's dramatic. It also changed the way people thought. Before the Black Death, medicine was all doctors were priests, and medicine was based on reading old books about medicine. And afterwards, people adopted a more experimental approach, much more like modern medicine. It also changed people's attitudes to religion. After the Black Death, people began to think of religion more as a personal encounter with God, rather than something mediated by the church. And that's the kind of theme that you need for a long book. I mean, there's got to be more meat in a long book. You can't just have, as you can in a thriller, a lot of exciting events happening to a small group of people. With a book of this length, people want to feel at the end of it that not only have they enjoyed themselves, but they've learned something they didn't know before. The politics may be hundreds of years old, but they feel